you some detail around the voter registration weekend drive. A slow start to day one of voter registration in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro saw about 578,000 voters being registered. Now, some 7,242 people aged between 18 and 29 in the Metro were recorded. The Eastern Cape as a whole recorded about 3,283,000 on the first day of registration. Newzroom Africa's Siphosethu Booi joins us live in Gqeberha to tell us more. Siphosethu, a very good morning to you. The numbers were recorded yesterday as the voter registration weekend will come to a close today. What came out of it?
You know, Paul, what I've picked up and noticed just yesterday moving in and around the area of Gqeberha alone in the townships, the Alex Matikinga cluster as well as the Kavanbeki cluster, is the fact that there was a bit of a slow turnout of people. But in total, the registrations, the issue of the voter registration is not quite clear in terms of how many were recorded a day. Because here in Ward 40 where we currently are, and this is like the Green Bushes area, 11,000 people in this particular ward have been recorded by the IEC. However, a day in this particular VD, about over 200 people actually came forward to register in contact. So that's just quite of an issue that we've picked up, that people really didn't come as early as the 8 a.m. when the gates were opened. So it's an issue of some of the people just registering online, especially the young people. And why it was important for us to come back to this particular area of Green Bushes, you remember in September that we visited the Polo Park informal settlement, and in that particular area, those residents received heavy rain downpours during the weekend, and their shacks were, flooded with water. So we tried engaging with some of those residents to try and see if whether or not they are one of those people that will be joining the registration weekend, whether they registered yesterday or today. And to our surprise, when we arrived this morning, some of those residents that live in that particular area were actually on their way to register to vote in a different VD, because some of them come from different informal settlements and move to this side. So they need to go back to where they resided when they registered back in 2018 for the 2019 elections. So now I'm joined by one of the residents who was going to talk to us just about the voter turnout and the importance of, registering to vote. And Melanie has been staying in this particular area of Kaiga for a while now, since 1997, you say. Please speak to us ngokubaluleka kokuvota and why it is important for you as residents of this particular area to encourage nabantu abatsha ukuba baphume in their numbers to go and vote.
Kubalulekile ukuvota, ne? And into esixelela intsha zethu leyo into ba kubalulekile ukuvota. For instance, na endlini ngihlala nabantwana bayitho abasandoba na 18 abazovota for the first time next year. But I did make sure into ba izolo bayile bayo registerisha. And as much as basinazo abantwana abaninzi apha abasandotena yi-18, but abaphumanga ngobuninzi babo.
Isizathu sabo xa nibabuza ke mama njengabaququzeleli bombutho lo unxiba iskipa sawo bathini xa beninika izizathu zoba kutheni bengaphumi bengabantu abatsha, because ndiyibonile loo nto leyo throughout the metro abantu abatsha baphumi baze bazovota. Xa nincokola nabo nizama uunderstand isizathu sabo bathini xa benithetha nayo?
Asikabafumani ba masithethe nabo. Esibafumeneyo bona ngaba bayileyo izolo bayahamba boyiregisterisha. Abanye sibafumeneyo ngaba bathe namhlanje bazawuya.
Ezinye ze-challenges mhlambi enijongene nazo apha kulo mmandla waseKaiga mhlambi zindoni, because kwezinye area i-crime, i-unemployment, substance abuse, abantu abatsha bayasela, abantu abatsha bagaxeleka kwii-drugs ngenxeni yongakwazi ukuphangela. Mhlawumbi zeziphi ezinye ii-challenges eninazo apha eninqwenelayo into yokuba noko xa niphinda niyovota kunyaka olandelayo zizinto ezinokwazi ukusombululeka?
I-crime ke asinoyikhalela, singayikhalela, but because ikho ndawo yonke, ne? And imisebenzi siyancedakala ku-EPWP, because most abantu bethu bebengaphangeli baku-EPWP ngoku.
So abantu abatsha ke ngokubona baya includeka kwezi programs ka-EPWP okanye noko inani labo bona babaqesheka abantu abatsha liselincinci kunenani labantu abaqeshekileyo ngoku ku-EPWP?
U-EPWP akana age. So if bangaba kuyabonakala abantu kukho umuntu osokolayo emtsha emdala uyafakeka ka-EPWP. And also zikhona i-jobs ezifikayo, then sifake abantu at least babe ne into yokwenza.
kwaba bantu batsha ke bahleliyo ngoku basesezindlini abasacingayo ngoyorejistarisha ungabakhuthaza uthini wena njengomzali ohlala kule ward ozaziyo ezinye ze-challenges ezifesenwe ngabantu abatsha njengomntu obakhuthazayo uba mabayovota ungabaxelela uthi ukubaluleka koku kuvota kuzawuzisa utshintsho olufana nantoni mhlawumbi kubo xa benothi baphakame bavota?
Mna ndingathi kubo kuze ube nesay funeka uyovota, kubalulekile kakhulu uyovota. And also ilizwe lethu alisafani nakuqala, ne? Ukwenza i-change funeka bayovota bengabantu abatsha.
Melanie, thank you very much for making time to speak to us. And Paul, that's Melanie, and she just says that some of the challenges in this particular area is unemployment, but because of EPWP, they are able to fund or give people jobs through EPWP, and some of the young people in the area are also a part of EPWP. And the fact that the crime levels, in particular in the Nelson Mandela Bay district, is not only something that only happens in this particular township, but it happens across the metro. So some of those young people they've spoken to some of those young people to say they should go out and vote. The importance of them going out to vote is really just to say that they have a voice. So the only time they'll be able to have that voice is if they go and register to vote for the upcoming elections in 2024. So we'll be, monitoring the particular ward and also just speaking to some of those young people to try and get a sense of maybe why is it that they're taking longer to go and register to vote, looking at the different, age groups of people that do go out in their numbers to vote. Because just yesterday we saw a bit of the elderly people going out to register to vote, but not much of young people. Maybe some of them will argue that they've registered online, so it's just also a case of trying to really get to those numbers in terms of how many young people actually voted and registered to vote.
Siphosethu, Booi, they're giving us an update in the Eastern Cape on how day one of the voter registration weekend has gone so far and some of the expectations as we go into day two. Let's now take you live to Polokwane in Limpopo, where we find our reporter Mnisi, who's standing by. Also, our reporter Nasiphi Same will be joining us live from Cape Town in just a moment. But let's take you to Mnisi. Linda, very good morning to you. We've heard Siphosethu, Booi speaking about what's happened in the Eastern Cape. Questions around the young vote. Will the youth come out to register? Have they done it online? What are you finding in that part of the province?
Interesting because, Paul, that's what the IEC is really targeting, young people in different parts of the province. And when you look at the figures in this province, particularly just around voter registration, about 10% of the population of this province registered to vote. And you further break it down, when you look at young people, the lowest being the age group between 18 and 19. These are the people, Paul, who are considered to be first-time voters. And when you take that into account, the eligibility when you come to vote around 16 years. When you're 16 years, you can register to vote, but can only start voting once you turn 18. Once you turn 18, essentially. So young people really at the heart of this voter registration drive, a breakdown showing that they are the youngest, the lowest rather, people who are registered to vote. But interesting when you look at the gender differences, right? Females registered more than young people. And you take it back to what the IEC said yesterday around this voter registration drive. By midday yesterday, across the country, over 300,000 people having been registered. If you look at the online platforms, about 26,000 people had gone into the online platform. This is a platform that is considered efficient because you don't really have to go to a voting station to check whether or not you're still registered to vote, or to even register to vote. We're at one of the voting stations here in Polokwane. Of course, there is that big question around what happens when the clock strikes 8 o'clock, right? Will the voter registration platforms be open and the stations be open? And we're at one of those platforms that is seemingly ready to start taking voters who want to register to vote. It seems to be open, and the officers there, as you can see, already stationed outside. We'll be speaking to the IEC later, to get a sense of what it's looking like in the province, particularly if you look at the municipality that we're in. Issues around water, some residents receiving water from, the service providers, and others receiving from the municipality. Service delivery really at the heart of why people feel the need to vote and the importance really of voting. We've been seeing a number of political parties since our arrival getting out there to encourage young people in the province. Also is the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, who later will still be embarking on that voter registration drive. Yesterday, he was in the Vembe region where he was engaging, voters, and today he'll be here in the Peter Mokaba region speaking to, voters, encouraging them. He'll be going from a taxi rank to the other communities where he's expected to encourage young people to come out to vote. We've been speaking, Paul, about the 14 million people that have not been registered to vote, that are not on the voters' roll. And if you look at the roles that political parties play, are they encouraged, particularly when they see organizations like the ANC coming out to encourage them to vote, and they juxtapose that with their immediate needs and whether or not service delivery has gotten to their area. So today we'll be getting a sense of what day 2 looks like in Polokwane and surrounding areas when it comes to voter registration.
Very well, then, Mnisi. Let's leave it there for now and take you to Cape Town, where we find our reporter Nasiphi Same joining us live from there. Nasiphi, a very good morning to you. What's it looking like this morning in the wake of what transpired yesterday? As the question that has really been out there is around the IEC trying to garner the youth vote, encouraging young people to come out and register to vote. What did you find?
Well, Paul, it's yet to be seen that concerted effort from the IEC in targeting the youth. We know that various political parties also leading up to this particular voter registration weekend have also jumped on that particular bandwagon. So it's yet to be seen whether or not those campaigns have actually landed. However, yesterday, having crisscrossed the metro, it seemed in Cape Town that it was business as usual. Not a lot of people making their ways to their various voting, or rather to the voting stations to register to vote, including updating their particulars there. However, also speaking to a first-time voter, somebody that was going to be a first-time voter, indicating that broken promises by those who've been elected, including politicians, is one of the many reasons why he opts not to register. But we're currently in COVID-19 informal settlement, and if you remember, during the heart of COVID, a number of backyard dwellers occupied this particular piece of land where we're standing, and now a fully fledged community. And we're going to be talking to one of the community leaders here, Ubongile Zanazo, insofar as whether or not people are voting in this particular community or even registering to vote. I mean, as somebody that has a pulse and speaking to community members here, how is it looking like?
Morning, Nas. We have a low, very low turnout for people who go to register yesterday, and people were having different issues. But I think it's us leaders and it's us, the youth, that has failed to convince other young people to go and register, and we failed to do our job encouraging young people to go out and register. And remember, we must educate people about their choices, because consequences are relevant to choices. If they don't vote, they will get the government that they don't want. If they go and register and make their voice to be heard about the government that they want. So it's up to us leaders, it's up to us young people, it's up to the elders to go out and convincing people, but we're having a very, very low number, especially here in COVID. But I think we are taking that on the chin. We're still going to work hard so that people can go and register to vote.
How do you convince someone that says that they will not vote? I mean, we're both standing here, somebody making their way home from work, saying that he will not even be registering to vote because there is no services here. There is no sanitation, no water, including electricity, no roads.
Are those comrades that we need to convince? Are those people that we need to go and convince them and tell them? Because if we're living by hope, everything that we do, we're using hope. Like, we hope things will change. So once we elect the right government, then things will change. We believe that. So that's why it's up to us leaders and to go and convince people to go and register to vote.
But Bongile, shortly for us, they registered in 2021 with that hope, and yet people are still frustrated. Quickly for us.
We voted for the wrong government. People voted for the wrong government in the Western Cape, so these are the consequences of voting that wrong government. So that's why we are saying we must convince our people. Out of the 23,000 structures, I was not expecting this low number.
We're going to have to leave it there. Bongile Zanazo, the leader of, one of the leaders actually here at the COVID-19 informal settlement, one of the communities that actually mushroomed during the COVID-19 pandemic. And basically he started his answer with a yaw, basically indicating the number, or rather the low turnout in the number of people that actually registered to vote. And as we were speaking, one of the community members here indicating that he must emphasize on the fact that they do not have electricity, they do not have access to water, nor do they have access to even adequate or basic sanitations. There's a number of these houses here in the COVID-19 informal settlement do not have ablution facilities.
Very well. Let's perhaps leave it there for now, as we do continue, of course, to track the latest coming out of the voter weekend registration drive. Our reporters stationed in central areas bringing us live updates of what's happening on the ground.